We are live.
We're live.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's call this meeting to order, November 20th. Are there any special intentions today?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
But Councilman can go first. He beat me to it.
Councilman
Thank you.
Carroll, you said you had something?
Yes, I have one. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for the prayers from City of Kenner, from the council and everyone else for Miss Rita Marmon, lifelong supporter, resident, mother, grandmother to District 1. She passed a couple of days ago, but she is someone that was beloved by everyone, and so much that her name was Rita, but everybody called her Momo. So I ask for your prayers for her and her family. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
I want to also do special intentions for Eddie Edward Becker. He was a 17-year employee of Public Works of the City of Kenner. Tragically and suddenly, he passed away this past November the 11th. He is survived by his wife, his children, and also his parents. He was only 41 years old, but he's given 17 years of those 41 years to the City of Kenner in Public Works. So it's a tragic loss, and it just recently happened.
Councilman Brennan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
We're going to do a prayer.
I'm sorry, Deacon Rapier, would you, well, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance first. That's what we always do. Councilman Brennan?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Deacon Rapier, would you lead us in the invocation?
Let us pray. Lord God of the universe, we give you thanks for giving us another day. As the morning temperatures cool, we know that the season is changing, yet the challenges confronting our city, state, and nation remain. Bless the mayor and members of our council with wisdom and goodwill that they may address the many challenges that face our great city with due care and diligence, so that the stress confronting so many of our families and businesses might be eased. May all that is done this day be for your greater honor and glory. Amen.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B 14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting. Do we have any resolutions, motions, or other items from the floor? Seeing none, the consent agenda. Item 1, approval of minutes, the regular council meeting of November 5th, 2020. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. We have none. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads. Item 4A, at the request of the administration, a report from Mayor Zahn.
Thank you, Council Chairman. I guess we have a few things under the mayor's comments this time. It might take a little while because we do have some presentations also, because there's a lot of things going on. First, I want to start and say thank you to Council Chairman Hayes and all the rest of the council for cooperating with this administration to put this council meeting on Zoom. I did receive a few questions last night. I'm sure you all did also, of why we're on Zoom. In spite of what's going on with numbers rising, that's not why we're on Zoom right this moment. Not to say we won't be on Zoom possibly at a later date or a different format because of the numbers rising. It has nothing to do with what we're doing today. We had a recent issue at the facility we've been meeting at, the Pontchartrain Center. It's being resolved, and we thought as administration, reaching out to our council president and reaching out to the rest of the council, it was the best thing to go back to Zoom right now while things are being addressed at that facility. So I appreciate the public's cooperation on this also. Tax numbers. For November, our numbers are down 4%. That's a $2 million drop in our revenues compared to November of last year. For the fiscal year, you can consider that around a little bit over 14% down in taxes. Not good to report, but I just did a State of the City address this past Tuesday to the Kennet Business Association that many of you all were at, and we talked about numbers as a whole. I've talked about that in the past to this council and council meetings, that we do have some issues we're challenged with. We just got through our budget. I appreciate the council's support on the budget because we did get that passed, and it's the boundaries we have to live within. So we'll see how the rest of this year goes. There's a lot of things to take into consideration and keep these sales tax numbers in mind. The pandemic's not getting any better. I said that to the KBA the other day. It's our current situation with that is not any better. I don't see the numbers getting better, but we'll have to make do with what we get. I am going to talk about code sweeps, then we're going to go into two other things where I have people to come up and speak. Code sweeps, with the help of James Wilhamid, code director with District 1, Greg Carroll, on November 13th, we did the 300 to 700 blocks of Taylor Street. We found not a lot, which I'm pleased to report. 3 abandoned vehicles, 7 building maintenance issues, and non-litter and debris issues. Warning violations only of 21, no court summons. Those are good things. Nothing's ever good to find anything. I'd like to find 0 on all those, but you see it starting to drop a little bit, and that's the hard work of the Kennet Code Department by James Wilhamid, Molly McGinnis, and all the men and ladies that work for Code. When the police department assists with us with that, and the fire department assists with that, I also thank them for doing those things. We are going to talk about bond ratings. Mr. Wetzel our CFO is going to make a few comments on some of the bond ratings that we just recently got. I appreciate the work that the CFO does along with his department. It'll come back to me, and we're going to talk about debris collection because that's really a hot topic right now. Mr. Wetzel.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, it's I who will be commenting upon this, if you don't mind.
It's my CEO, Deborah Foshee, instead. Sorry about that.
I can act like Mike Wetzel if you want. As you know, members of the council, we have embarked upon bond refinancing to take advantage of both lower rates and the ability to free up some funds as we go through this economic recovery. When you go through that process, Standard & Poor's, also known as S&P, comes and rates the city's bonds. The purpose of that is so investors will know whether this is a safe investment to make. Many local governments going through this right now are facing downgrades, and it's through no fault of their own. Simply the current economy makes it really a challenging investment in municipal bonds. I am pleased to report that the S&P notified us earlier this week that the city's sales tax bonds previously rated at A+ will remain at A+. That's very exciting. There are a number of reasons the analysts found the city's position to be stable despite a volatile economy. First, they were aware that the city made immediate, fast, and deep cuts to spending before knowing the full impact COVID would bring. We all remembered when that happened. It was painful, but had to be done. And thanks to that, we are where we are. I want to shout out to the first person who called us is a consultant from Pennsylvania who picked up the phone and called. We know him from before and said, "Can I help you?" So Josh Nemzoff said, cut deep, cut fast, and keep moving. So shout out to Mr. Nemzoff for his assistance with that. That's exactly what we did. Also, the S&P put in their report specifically their reliance upon our economic development measures. They noted in the report itself both the studies going on in Rivertown, the redevelopment study of the Esplanade Mall, as well as the Alluvia project and the Atlantis development. I have to say thank you very much to Mr. Shane. Henry Shane helped us put the materials together because in speaking to the S&P, it's an actual presentation. We had to put our best foot forward to convince them that we were stable. So thank you, Candace Watkins, and all of your people. Thank you, Mr. Shane. Next, thanks to Kent Scheck-Snyder and his team for guiding us through the process. Thanks to our secret weapon, Council Chairman Hayes, who we always call upon for second opinions in banking matters before we pull the trigger. But most importantly, I want to thank Mike Wetzel, Liz Herring, and the entire Kenner Finance team. Balancing this budget during these challenging times is a Herculean task, and they really do make it look easy. So thank you, Mike. Thank you, team. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's it, Deborah.
Yes, sir.
Anything from you, Mike Wetzel?
I was going to say that is way better than I would have given you. So, all good.
So again, thank you to that CFO team and all the people that Deborah mentioned. So we have a debris cleaning pickup presentation to give to this council, which you all have been briefed on already, and also to the public, so the public knows what's going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. It's going to go to Chad Pitfield, who is on the site where the debris is going, and we're also going to have Ivy Waste and Risk Tree Service weigh in. Let me say this first before we go to Chad, our Deputy CEO, who's been taking care of these logistics. I'm going to ask the people of Kenner. We're only right at 17 days into picking this up. I think we have done a great job doing this. I know you all as council people, I as the mayor, I get a lot of, I'm sure the chief, we get a lot of questions, maybe sometimes complaints on why the debris is not picked up yet. Well, it's 17 days. We had basically 1 mile short, 2 miles short of a Category 3 storm hit the city of Kenner. Just like electricity, which we'll talk about later, and power and other things, other services, it took a little bit to get some of those things put on. Actually, those things went by pretty quick. Debris takes a little bit longer. It's something that we need to ask for more patience from everyone. On my street, I still have debris on my street. Some of the council people might be in the same situation, just subdivisions. It's a little more patience that I ask for in cooperation as we get these things done. 17 days still picking up is not bad. I believe that I had said in past council meetings we'd be done probably right before Thanksgiving. It might be a little bit past Thanksgiving, which is next week. Altogether, we'll probably be a little bit shy of a month picking up the debris. If you look in other areas where hurricanes hit, they're having same problems, same issues, because it takes time to pick it up. I want to thank Ivy Waste and also Risk. I want to thank Chad and all the field crews, my administration, the council, everyone who's been involved in this, assisting with this. It's going to get picked up. We are no different than Jefferson Parish. Jefferson Parish is still picking up because it takes a while to pick up in Jefferson Parish. We're going to get it done. It just takes time. We all remember Katrina probably and how long that took. Of course, this was no Katrina, but still, it did take down a lot. If you don't believe that, just think about you were without power. You were without power because things came down. That's what we're still picking up. With that said, we're going to go to Chad, and Chad's going to take it from there. I think Chad's on site. Then I want to come back and not talk about debris, but still talk about the hurricane, because our Public Service Commissioner, Eric Skrmetta, is here, and I want to introduce him to give a little brief synopsis of what's going on with things he's still addressing with the current storm. Chad?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and look, as you stated, patience. This is a big task that we're doing. I think, unfortunately, we're a product of our own success when we picked up garbage cans in 10 days throughout the entire city. But this is a lot more than garbage cans. What we're running into, as the mayor said, we absolutely plan on being done completely within a month's time frame. Right now, what we're seeing is people are getting their insurance quotes and insurance stuff back for their wooden fences and so forth. So now the debris that we estimated when we had scout crews go out right after the storm, and actually during the storm, we were looking at trees that were down, debris that was down in our thoroughfares. Well, now we're getting the tree that was down in the backyard, or the tree that maybe fell on someone's house, or like I said, the wooden fences. As you can see, I'll do a quick little turnaround here in the emergency debris site yard that we're in, and you can see, I mean, look, here we have wooden fences and trees and big tree stumps and yard. I mean, we're absolutely picking it up. We're out there getting it off the street, and we're bringing it into our emergency debris site where we're processing it and getting it handled as we're required to by law. This process is a multi-faceted process involving different groups. One of them, mainly our foundation within the city, is our city workers through our field operations groups. That's Public Works, Recreation, General Services, and Parkways. These guys and ladies have been working 7 days a week trying to clean up the city. There's nothing that we want more than our city streets back clean. But outside of our city workers, we know that our city staff is limited in numbers. We utilize our contractors that we do, that we have, that clean up throughout the year as well, and that is IV Waste as well as Risk Tree Services. So we kind of subdivided some of the sizes of the debris. For instance, IV Waste was picking up small and medium debris, and Mr. Torres will talk a little bit more about that, as well as using their boom truck. And we used Risk Tree Service for some of our whole trees that were down. So I'll let them each speak about their process and what they've experienced throughout the city. But again, look, we're 100% on it. We're doing it. You can see it behind me. If you want to drive down 24th Street in Williams, you can see the piles of debris that are here. But again, we couldn't do it alone. So thanks to IV and Risk for stepping in as well and caring about our city and making it happen. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Sidney Torres with IV Waste.
Turn your mic on, Sid.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, council member. Thank you, council. Thank you, mayor, and thank you, Chad. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for allowing us to have the opportunity to work with the city of Kenner and getting this up. It has been a little challenging at times because we'll make a pass and then someone will chop down trees in the backyard and then put it out on the curb, and then we go back. And we've been working very closely with with the city of Kenner and working to try to do it in an efficient way. So when we first started this, we would pick up the trash, and a lot of people that didn't have power put out stuff that went bad in the refrigerator. So the garbage was a lot more than it normally was. And the trucks and the tonnage, you can see it from the city of Kenner pays the tonnage, so that you can see some days we're even double. So if we're normally finished around 1:30, 2 o'clock, we were finishing around 7 or 8 o'clock. And so we were trying to get caught up on the trash. And then what happened the week after with the trash, we went right into picking up the storm debris after we would pick up the garbage route. So we'd pick the garbage route up, then come back with the same garbage trucks and pick up the small limbs and debris. And we also have our boom truck. So we dispatch that when the pile's too big or the stumps are too big to pick up. But we are out there. We're going to continue to stay out there. And just to give comfort to the city of Kenner, I just talked to the CAO of St. Bernard Parish, Ronnie Alonso, and Ronnie was sharing with me that they're not going to have the entire parish picked up probably until like a week after Thanksgiving into December. And they hired a contractor, DNC, in the state, had done some work along the roadways. And so they're still out there picking up. And he just told me, he said, you should be on schedule. And we feel we'll be on schedule a few days or a week after Thanksgiving to get it all cleaned up. But anyway, we're out there working. We're not going to stop until we get it all up. And we even have our guys on the normal pickup day. We have them starting to pick up smaller piles if they can fit them in the trucks, besides just going out after the garbage route's picked up. So we're out there. We're going to continue to work to get it up. And thank you all again for letting us have the opportunity to work with y'all.
Thank you, Sidney.
And then the last, I want to bring in Mr. Matt Toubre from Risk Tree Service. As many of you know, Risk is our tree contractor. He's also an arborist who we consult with routinely on some of the trees that we have through the city that are aged. Matt's group and company was the ones that during COVID went and did all of the cleaned up I think it's like 2,700 trees they physically touched throughout the city. So kudos to them. Again, they're a Kenner business as well. They care about the city. So Matt, if you want to jump in and give a little bit on, y'all's involvement in the storm debris cleanup.
Hey, everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, well, thank you, Chad. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Matt with Risk Tree Service. This storm definitely had some catastrophic damage to our trees. Going through everything. Overall, I thought the response was great from the city of Kenner. I do agree everything's moving fast. Overall, though, I just would like to say we lost a lot of invasive species, a lot of your water oaks, a lot of your trash trees, such as tallows, hackberries, more termite-prone trees. We did lose a couple live oaks that's unfortunate on Power Boulevard. But overall, I think the city's trees did well. I think it did help that we did a big trimming right before this storm hit, trimming all the main corridors, raising canopies, taking some of that lower drag weight, removing some of the dead wood. That just allows the trees to be a little more wind resistant and allows the wind to flow through the trees. I did do an assessment on those 8 live oaks when they fell on power. Basically, my conclusion was, honestly, it is the largest, the widest median, the largest and widest main corridor in Kenner. And I believe a lot of that damage being on top of that being next to the lake, I believe the gust just got too high and it actually broke those trees off its anchor roots. But moving forward, I would say, just like to say thank you for the city of Kenner. It has been a pleasure to work with you guys. I do work with several municipalities, local municipalities in the area. And hats off to Kenner, hats off to Chad Pitfield, Jimmy Dennis. You guys really communicate well. You're steadily, readily available. And the experience on our side has been great. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. But Mayor, in closing, as we've said before, just please be patient with us. We're out there. We assure you we want nothing more than to get all of that picked up off the street into our yard where we're going to process it and get it to where it needs to go.
Thanks, Chad. And like I said, it's something that's still going on, something we're still addressing because we did have a storm that came through that was pretty intense. But we had a lot of other problems too that got resolved very, very quickly. Probably within 4 to 5 days, we had 90-something% of our power restored. And that only happened because of 2 gentlemen that we dealt with directly, at least I did. Patrick Hamby with Entergy. I want to appreciate him. I know he's here for something else with Councilman Segura that's going to come up later. But also our Public Service Commissioner, Eric Scrumetta. Eric has always been a friend of the city of Kenner. He's a personal friend of mine. He's a personal friend of you guys. And he has absolutely shown with this storm, like he has with other ones, what he can do when we need him. And we needed him to work with Entergy. We needed him to work with Cox Cable, AT&T, all the service utilities. And he did it. He stepped in. He was here a lot. He was throughout his whole district, but he spent a lot of time throughout different parts of his district in the city of Kenner, working closely with my office. I know he worked with you all. You all saw him many times at the Emergency Operations Center. And that says a lot for our Public Service Commissioner to come in and do those things. Eric's here because I asked him to come, give a brief overview of where we're going with some improvements and some other things that he's worked with those utilities. Again, Eric, I want to tell you personally, thank you on behalf of all the citizens of the city of Kenner.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And members of the council, Zeta was a powerful storm. It came in just 1 mile an hour lower than a Category 3. And that's an amazing impact for our region and for our community. It was a fast moving storm and it had a tremendous amount of energy within it and behind it. Many of you will notice that the real impact of this storm for much of our community was after it passed through and when we got the northwest winds. A storm like this generally creates power outages for when it's a Category 2 for 7 to 10 days. But as a Category 3, even 10 to 14 days is not unusual. There was a tremendous amount of damage to both transmission and distribution lines. And you look at the numbers on this storm, there were about 480,000 Entergy customers in the region that were lost power. There were 30 major transmission lines in the region that were damaged. There were 5 in the immediate region that were damaged that were causing a problem of flowing electricity into this area. We moved forward to bring in as many people as we could. We were somewhat limited by the fact that at the same time, there was an ice and snowstorm in Texas and Oklahoma to our west. And this storm itself created great damage to our east all the way up to Atlanta. So what we did do over the few days as we moved into it, we went from about 4,500 Entergy employees to about 6,600 Entergy employees. And within 4 days, we had them restore approximately 90% of the electricity to the region. That is particularly an amazing performance level. It's not good if you're the 10% who didn't get their power on, but that has been resolved. Being with power for 7 to 10 days would have been very troublesome. And for those who have medical conditions, it would have been even worse. And the commission approved maximum relief support from utility workers across the region. And at that point, I remained in constant contact with all mayors and council members and the parish president, the sheriff, law enforcement, and worked with others to cut all red tape to let utility workers get to the lines for repair as quickly as possible. As you know, that about approximately half of the service in East Jefferson comes from the back of houses, and that becomes a secondary problem for the restoration of utilities. And cutting that red tape and removing bureaucracy helped us restore power quickly. And in fact, in some cases, power was restored the day after the storm hit. But for most, the power was restored within 2 to 3 days. And this is a far lower time constraint than the projected 7 to 10 days. So I wanted to tell you how much I appreciated the support of each of you and all the help that you offered us. Kenner was particularly hard hit, and it was the commitment of Mayor Zahn, Councilman Dominic Impastato, Chief Glazer, Constable Ural, and each one of you on the council that made all the difference in the world for getting your residents up and running again as quickly as possible. Even on the night of the storm, just actually minutes after the hurricane passed, Mayor Zahn had me on the scene on the Joe Yenny Boulevard area where severe damage had occurred. And the next morning, we had more than a dozen trucks working on that restoration to begin the process of restoring Kenner. So most of all, I want to thank all of you for your assistance. And I'm pleased that we're able to restore power to the residents in near record time. And we'll continue to work to improve restoration process. And we will continue to work on improving the various systems in Kenner to improve reliability in the future. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to y'all today.
Thank you, Eric. Very, very helpful. All the things that you did for us, we totally appreciate that. Council Chairman, I know we were leading into Councilman Segua's questions and what his resolution was, but I do have one thing that I skipped, and it's a little bit out of order. But I do have Ms. Molly McGinnis here with Code Enforcement and also planning to talk a little bit about Airbnbs and where we are with that. If you could let Ms. McGinnis do that and go back to what Councilman Segua wants to do with the utility companies. Molly.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to let y'all know we're really excited to have this Granicus contract and the support that provides short-term rentals and identifying them from an enforcement perspective has been incredibly difficult. These businesses advertise on a plethora of platforms. Granicus has the technology to scrape all of these platforms, get the information, provide it to us for enforcement. They will also provide a 24-hour hotline for inquiries, as well as complaints or concerns about short-term rentals. And they will provide us with documentation once we get to the enforcement phase so that we can enforce the ordinance. It's probably one of the best contracts and pieces of software and support that I've seen, and we're very excited to be working with them.
Thank you, Molly. With that concludes my mayor comments. I appreciate y'all's time, and I hope that these things helped a little bit.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor has said, at our last meeting, we passed a resolution by Councilman Segura to invite our 3 utility providers to appear to report on the status of their storm repairs. And with that, I'd like to call on Councilman Segura to introduce our presenters who are with us today. Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council President. As you said, yeah, I introduced the resolution at the last meeting, which was more on behalf of the whole council. All my colleagues, I'm sure, were fielding the same questions from residents that they represent on things that were going on relative to the extent of the damage, the repair of the damage, maintenance issues. So it was certainly worthwhile for us to do that and then invite them to come to this meeting. With us this morning, we have Mr. Patrick Hamby with Energy, Ms. Erin Wesley with Cox. I received notice last night that AT&T would not attend. This is somewhat disheartening, to have a major utility like this not attend a governmental meeting and address these concerns that we are trying to get from them to explain to our residents. But obviously, it's also not just the city of Kenner. They did not attend. They didn't attend Jefferson Parish or the city of New Orleans. So we'll have to try to address some issues with them at a later time. But in preparation for having these utilities come today, I provided them with a short list of questions that I knew was common to every councilman. And so I'm just going to real quickly go through that. So as each of the representatives speak, you'll have an understanding of where they are coming from. First question was, what was the extent of the damage of your assets in Kenner? Are they all up and working at this time? If not, when do you expect them to be so? How many out of state or out of area workers did you bring in to assist in getting our damages restored? What is your plan to follow up other repairs like leaning poles, wires, picking up damaged materials left on the ground? Who owns the wooden poles and who's responsible for their maintenance? And this one, I know I've got a lot of questions on. What is the plan to provide a credit to the clients that lost service? So these were provided to each of the entities, and we'll now go into their explanations in not any particular order, but Patrick Hamby with Energy alphabetically. Let's go with you.
That sounds great. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. Good morning, everyone. Patrick Hamby with Entergy Louisiana. Hopefully the storm season for our region has ended with Zeta. I know that the storm season goes through the end of this month, and with the year 2020, I wouldn't be surprised if something popped up, in December. And as a reminder of what's going on in the world, Honduras and Nicaragua have gotten hit, by back-to-back Category 4s. So, within this last week, and then within the month ahead behind us. So thoughts and prayers definitely out to those communities. But quickly getting back to Zeta, Hurricane Zeta, as many have mentioned, made landfall at 110 sustained miles an hour of wind. That is 1 mile an hour shy of a major hurricane, which is categorized by the National Weather Service as a Category 3 or above. So I call it a virtual Category 3. That 110 sustained miles an hour was severe, and it was showed with the level of damages in our area. So, but this all starts, hurricane preparation all starts, not June 1, but throughout the year. We have coordinated pre-storm communications and planning in place. We work hard with Doug Dote and Heather Hilliard and each council office and the mayor and his team, making sure that we have predefined storm roles so everyone knows who to go to for information, and we coordinate that well in advance, ahead of the storm. I would also like to point out, the collaboration with the mayor's office and the Pontchartrain Center and the use that the city of Kenner, gives Entergy for that facility to be used as a staging site. Not only does it help the city of Kenner, but it also helps the greater good of the entire region by allowing us to prep there, to put our equipment in place while we stage and feed our guys so they can get boots on the ground as quick as possible to get those lights on. I think it's truly a model partnership of a community utility collaboration, and it shows. I mentioned we had predefined storm roles. We have a dedicated Entergy contact that happens to be me for the city of Kenner. Each and every one of you has my email, my cell phone, so text, emails, phone calls. I know we all were in constant contact through this storm at the beginning, before landfall, and certainly after landfall when the restoration process was going on. I do have, it's not just me, a one-man show. As was mentioned by Commissioner Skermetta, we had well over 6,000, linemen, restoration workers, vegetation workers, a ton of people in the area doing all of the work, making Entergy, look like the premier utility that we strive to be. So the general restoration process overview for storms in general starts off with the overall excellent collaboration before the storm as we went through. But once that storm hits and it's passed through the region, we have to get boots on the ground, eyes on the damages to see exactly what the inventory is of down poles, down transformers, spans of wire, so that in essence, we can get the right crews with the right equipment on the right job and get the lights on as quick as possible. That lays the foundation for a successful restoration process. After we have that done, actually in tandem with that being done, we are restoring hospitals and emergency facilities along the way. We're going through our critical care list and matching that with what the city has, making sure that all their water plants, lift stations, and other critical care facilities such as nursing homes are brought back up as quick as possible. A lot of talk has been already provided about the vegetation damage, but we did have 1,000 vegetation workers. That was about 500 on the east bank and 500 on the west bank, but we touched pretty much either partially trimming or wholly removing trees of virtually every species in the region. So that was a tremendous effort. And we also did different things with the city as well. You guys helped us coordinating traffic control details to make sure that down wires were safe from the public so that our restoration workers could get in, get the lights on, and get everyone back to normal as quick as possible. So I'll get into the damages now. I'll start with the statewide damages, which includes New Orleans and the rest of the state, and then I'll get down to the east bank of Jefferson Parish, which is obviously where Kenner is in that bucket. So for the three different categories that I have, it'll be poles, transformers, and spans of wire. For the state of Louisiana, Entergy had 2,747 poles that were down. We had 573 transformers that were damaged and on the ground, 1,794 spans of wire. The calculation to get that converted into miles, it's about 200 feet between each span. So you would have to multiply 1,794 times 200 divided by 5,280. I can't remember. It may be north of 100 miles. I'm not sure, but close to that. Specifically for the east bank of Jefferson Parish, we have 300 of those poles that were located in the Kenner, Metairie, Harahan, River Ridge area. 74 of those transformers that were down were also in that area, and 178 spans of wire were down in that area. So we have also had a lot of conversation about the residual debris and the discarded materials and trees that I know the city's working to pick up on their behalf, but we also have Entergy related poles, transformers, wires that we're working to pick up as well. We've actually have a specialized contractor that we put in place, and all of that is being picked up as we go. When we were restoring power, we have our maps where we indicated when a pole was replaced and what was left behind, so we know where everything is. However, if you get any complaints to your council office or to the mayor's office, please work directly through me, and I have direct access to those crews to prioritize as needed. The resource numbers, we've already touched on this, well over 6,000 workers in Louisiana working to get the lights back on. Over 1,300, 1,340 to be exact, were in the Kenner area, the greater Kenner area on the east bank of the Jefferson Parish. And as work was finished, we didn't release the workers, we just reallocated them to the harder hit areas so that we could help the other regions as well. 2020 has been a very challenging year, and this was no typical hurricane with the late timing of it, the intensity of it, and then also jammed in the middle, you had Halloween and you also had voting day. So one of the most important elections in in most people's memory. So we worked hand in hand to identify the polling locations, to make sure that each polling location had backup generation if needed. But more importantly, we actually got the lights back on to every single one except for 2 polling locations, which did have backup generation. So everything went on without a hitch. Everyone was able to exercise their right to vote, and it was a big success. So as far as the restoration timeline and the number of outages go, we had over approximately 500,000 outages in Louisiana, 480,000 to be exact. As was mentioned, as the storm weakened, I think it was sustained at 80 miles an hour when it moved out of our region up into Georgia. You know, we only had 480,000, but the rest of that East Coast had over 2 million outages. So that was kind of a constraint on additional resources because those states had to hold on to their own workers to take care of their own citizens and get their own lights on. However, we did manage to get, you know, close to 7,000 workers and broke many records that I'm about to go over now. So 94% of Kenner's customers that are served by Entergy were affected by Zeta with the power outage. I know Bob Ross is checking my math on this, so I'm going to give him the numbers so he can punch it into his calculator. It was 34,922 customers that were without power out of a total of 37,060 customers that we served in Kenner. Nearly half of that, 43% of those customers were restored by day 2, which is incredible. We surpassed the 90% restoration mark, which is our target for historical reference that I'll go into next, by day 4, with 100% of the last remaining customers restored on day 5. So for a historical point of reference on that, you know, this goes back to 1992 with Hurricane Andrew, and then fast forward to 2005, Katrina, Rita, Gustav, Ike, Isaac, all of that history that we have restoring power throughout those years and those storms. We have got an average of what it should take, and this is what we communicate ahead of any storm and ahead of the storm season, so customers can have their expectations set and decide whether they want to stay and potentially be without power for a certain number of days. So for a category 1, the history and the stats and the average is that 7 days is the mark for us to reach 90%. For a category 2, that is 10 days. So theoretically, Zeta should have been, you know, a 10-day restoration effort to get us to 90%. We were actually there for the city of Kenner on day 4. So it was a tremendous success, and that's not, you know, all on Entergy's back. Again, that is a community partnership with the Pontchartrain Center, with Commissioner Eric Skermetta also helping us rally resources, and it's truly a team effort on all behalf. So with that, I'll open it to any questions.
A couple of questions that I had in the list was, I know you touched a little bit on, but just to give some further clarity, there are some poles that are still leaning but have been leaning maybe before the storm. But at what point is it determined how far it leans before it needs to be replaced?
With the poles, there's no set angle per se of what is acceptable and what's not. It's a case-by-case basis. We will drive out and inspect those. We do a sound and bore if necessary. That is basically testing for any kind of rot and different things like that. And then we look at the equipment that is on the pole itself, you know, the cross arm or their transformers and different things like that. So it's really a case-by-case basis. And one of the questions I believe you asked that I did not touch on directly is pole ownership. Who owns the wooden poles? That is split between AT&T and Entergy. It's roughly about half. I don't have the numbers in front of me for the city of Kenner, but across the state, it's about half and half. So we have joint use agreements where we address these types of issues together.
Well, yes, and that was the next question, because depending upon who the pole belongs to comes into question the maintenance of the pole just in normal life to be replaced, because when a storm comes in like this, it doesn't knock every pole down, only some poles. So it's probably the ones that needed that maintenance. Is that required of who owns it or just who uses it? How do y'all address that?
We have a pole inspection plan that is actually comes down from the Louisiana Public Service Commission. We strive for a 10-year inspection cycle. That's all pole owning utilities, so AT&T and Entergy. And we had Osmos, who is a third-party vendor, just go out recently within the past less than 3 years, maybe 4 years, and do an all-inclusive audit on behalf of Entergy and AT&T. So we also have a different system. It's an acronym. It's NGINS. It's the National Joint Use Notification System. That is basically a computer model where when we find any pole that needs addressing, whether it's transferring of AT&T to a new Entergy pole or vice versa, that's documented and tracked there.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question, which you didn't address, but I can understand, was the credit for loss of service. But in your case, I think that's automatic because if they didn't draw power, they're not billed. So I don't expect a real answer from you on that. But if you had a comment, go ahead.
Sure, yeah. That's absolutely correct. You know, as soon as the electrons stop flowing, if there's damages for any reason and power is disconnected, the meter stops registering because there's no kilowatt hours going through it. So you are exactly right. There's an immediate savings realized there. It's not something that people want to save money that way, I'm sure, but at the end of the month, it'll be reflected on the bill.
All right. So before we let you go and go to the next one, if any of the other council members have questions, by all means, go ahead.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council Chair. Thank you, Mike, for putting this out there and getting these people to come meet with us. I just wanted to, Patrick, you touched on it, and I just wanted to express some personal thanks because you were taking my calls and text messages. We were talking late in the evenings, early in the mornings, and I know your sleep schedule was very abbreviated from the comments you made, but I think I speak on behalf of the other council members to say thank you for always being there when I know I reach out and ask questions and lean on you. So it's greatly and deeply appreciated, and I think we've seen the results in the numbers and the restoration as you outlined it. So thank you again very much.
Councilman Brannigan?
Yeah, Patrick, ditto on what Brian said. I appreciate your quick response to us and all the text and phone calls late, early. It's just amazing. You do a great job for us, and we appreciate it.
Councilmember McKinney?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hamby. I appreciate it as well. I ditto the other remarks, but I also wanted, the communication was great. You kept us updated, but I also want to thank Entergy in general for our abilities to track the outages. I think that their software, having the software that they use, so where areas, what households, what areas were without power, it's very helpful. And for us to know where the target areas are and where we need to be reaching out to our residents as well. So kudos to Entergy for doing that. And then I just have a quick question about, so I know that several of the poles were removed that had issues, but also if any poles were replaced, but the other poles weren't taken down, what's the process and what is the procedure for them to come back and make sure that, there's not 3 or 4 poles that in that area aesthetically, so we can get that taken care of.
Gotcha. So that goes back to what Councilman Segura had asked about, and that's our joint use programs, because on each pole, whether it's AT&T who owns it or Entergy who owns it, we all share facilities. You have the electrical at the top and then your communications with AT&T and Cox at the bottom. So when the new pole is replaced, Entergy will, for emergency purposes during a restoration event, transfer all electric facilities over and get the lights on as quick as possible. We will cut down the leftover pole right above where the communications are still attached, and then that goes into our tracking system that I mentioned, and AT&T and Cox will have to come transfer, and then once they transfer, there's a green light or a flag that comes up in our tracking system, and then we will be notified, whoever it is, AT&T or Entergy who owns the pole, to go remove that stub pole. But if there are any emergency situations or special circumstances or issues that any of you see with this type of situation, just reach out directly with me and I'll get with AT&T and Cox, and we can expedite it as needed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. And just to echo Patrick's, everyone compliments and concerns for not only you, but for the Entergy, and also for the men and women who came in from other states that came in, became part of our city, became part of our community, and afforded. We treated them with respect. Many of them obviously appreciate the support from Entergy and from across the country. So we want to thank you guys for that. Also to thank Commissioner Skrmetta for his support, for his administrative support to be able to address things from a administrative position that Entergy guys are on the ground, on boots on the ground doing the work, but to be able to maintain that cooperation, that coordination is very important. Not only during the storm, but also doing day-to-day activities to get a light turned on, to get a pole removed, your cooperation and your ability to communicate with myself and other council all hours of the night is always there. So we appreciated the hard work. We appreciated that no one was injured during their hard work. And hopefully we are done for the year, and look forward for you guys to rest up for next year. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Wilmot.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too wanted to thank Patrick for keeping that open line of communication. It's great to be able to reach out to you when we need to and get a quick response. So thank you. And of course, Commissioner Skrmetta as well. It was really outstanding. After our last council meeting, I was able to go to my truck and we see all the bucket trucks that are there located in the parking lot, ready and ramped up to go, which was really fascinating. But I wanted to mention about 2 days after Zeta, I had to make a round trip to Baton Rouge, and I was just counting the bucket trucks that were flowing in to the Kenner area. It was amazing. I want to say I counted roughly 60 Entergy bucket truck. I say Entergy to restore power. In addition to that, I saw about 10 Cox trucks. So that was an excellent feeling, knowing that we were having immediate help. And systematically, I understand that we were way ahead of schedule. So, and it was done in a very positive way to try and get the easy ones up first, of course, and then of course power poles later, whatever we had to do. But it was done in a very smart way. So again, thank Entergy, thank Patrick, and thank Eric for y'all's hard work and dedication to getting this Kenner back up as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Wilmot. Any other questions, concerns? Well, this is unusual. I need to congratulate you, Commissioner, and Mr. Hamley. It sounds like a love fest. So it's a great reaction. So congratulations to both of y'all. Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, and just in closing with Patrick, my thanks also, because I was in constant contact with him in some of my priority areas like Westminster Towers, a funeral home that had some guests in there that needed refrigeration, and just the residents as a whole that were looking to get their power back on. So again, Entergy did their job and exceeded the timetable that was initially presented to us. So again, thank you for that and everything. We will continue, myself and other council members with Patrick and some other utilities, Cox and hopefully AT&T, in the very near future to continue the discussion, as Councilwoman McKinney brought up, about the multiple poles at one location that need to be addressed. And I know, Patrick, you have sent that correspondence to your cohorts, but it doesn't seem like they follow up as quickly as y'all do at times. So we are I'm gonna be back in touch with you real quickly now to get this moving, to get some of these other issues cleaned up. So with that, unless you have anything last minute to say, I will move on to our next presenter.
Just happy Thanksgiving to everyone, because I may not see you before then, but I hope everyone enjoyed time with their family. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, next we have for Cox, Miss Erin Wesley. Miss Wesley, there you are. I see you now. Couldn't find you earlier. So you had the same list of questions, but give us your presentation and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. Again, my name is Erin Monroe Wesley. I serve as the Vice President of Government and Public Affairs for Cox Communications Southeast Region. And so that includes the states of Louisiana, Florida, and Georgia. I am also joined today by Anthony Pope, who's our Senior Vice President, along with members of our local leadership team. And so let me first start by thanking you, the members of the council, the mayor, and also our customers for your patience as we worked as quickly as possible to restore services to our customers in the city of Kenner. We certainly all know how important our services are to keep customers connected, but really especially during these challenging times, we know that more and more families are working from home, and obviously students have had to shift from traditional classes to a virtual setting. And so following Hurricane Zeta making landfall on October 28th, 91% of Cox customers in the city of Kenner were offline. Our team worked around the clock to restore our network, bringing over 87% of our customers back online by day 3 of restoration. By day 5 of restoration, we have 97% of our customers that had their services restored in Kenner. Now, we definitely deem this restoration timeline to be a success, obviously based on our experiences with Category 2 storms, but we certainly never rest until we have 100% of our customers back online. So as you know, we definitely follow power in terms of restoration. We need power to our neighborhood hub and our equipment, but also need power to the customers' homes to be restored before we can go into the home and assess what needs to be fixed. So we did some data and analysis in terms of how we followed and tracked Entergy in terms of restoration. And our data shows that we quickly followed power. We were able to restore services to about 95% of our customers within a 24-hour period once their power had been restored. And so like Entergy in terms of prioritization, we definitely prioritize our first responders and critical infrastructure. And so those would be your hospitals, your schools, police, fire departments, and definitely your government and state offices. And then we also all have the unique challenge with the presidential election around the corner at the time of our Zeta recovery. We definitely worked very closely with our local and state officials to assess and restore all polling locations with Cox services. Let me just say how proud I am of our local team on the ground. We did bring in an additional 200 members to our team who traveled in across the Southeast region to help all of us out with our recovery needs. So really appreciate their work. We continue to enhance our storm recovery process after each disaster. To keep our customers informed, we provide text alerts, updates at cox.com. We also provide interactive voice response and live communications with service agents to address any of our customers' needs. We are also in the process of developing an outage map for public distribution that will really show at a neighborhood level the outages. We recognize that this is a particular need and request, looking at what our Entergy partner does as well. So we want to accommodate that request from our customers and also from some of the council members have expressed an interest as well. And so council member, getting into the specifics of your question, the first question around damage to our assets. So at the height of our repair needs, we had about 20 miles of plant damage across our metro area, and we repaired about 4,840 down cable lines as part of our Zeta recovery. You'd also asked us about, are we all up and running, if you will? So the answer is, short answer is yes. The city of Kenner is back up to our pre-Zeta restoration levels. You'd also asked about our plan for follow-up repairs and damaged materials. And so we do pick up our damaged material as our jobs are complete. And so we don't have any materials kind of lingering, if you will. To the question about wooden poles and who they belong to, we at Cox lease through our pole attachment agreements. And so we lease the rights to those poles from Entergy and from AT&T in some cases. And then finally, I believe the last question was around credits. And so we do issue credits based on 24 hours of service interruptions. We have allocated credits to customers for Hurricane Zeta. We also absorb all of those costs. And so none of those costs are passed along to the customers. So just in closing, appreciate the opportunity to be before you. I do think that we certainly have an opportunity to kind of work with you to establish a cadence of communications through disasters and beyond. And so look forward to that partnership. And happy to answer any questions at this time.
Fine, thank you. And as you presented your comments, you did answer most of my questions, but I'll just ask you on the last one relative to the credit. Is that going to be an automatic or do they have to request it?
So it depends on the timing of it. And so we issue them again based on 24 hours. We work one-on-one with customers to determine their level of service and then assign that credit. When we get to that 7-day period, those credits are then automatically applied to customer accounts.
All right, thank you. Other questions?
Councilmember McKinney, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Council President. I just want to thank you for, I'm a Cox customer, so I did get my service back within 24 hours of getting electrical. So thank you for that. I'm sure my neighborhood appreciates that as well. I just wanted to touch on, and I did see Cox out and Cox Communications vehicles out and about when I was driving around as well. And I especially liked what you said about the outage maps. I know that I mentioned that earlier. So I think that just is a really helpful tool for us and for obviously for you guys to establish priority. I'm sure you have that anyway. So just giving it to have a customer face makes it a lot easier. So I think that it's just a good communication tool, and having someone on the ground, especially in terms of disaster relief, like a Patrick, is great. So we can answer any questions. I actually work for Energy, so I'm very well in touch with Patrick on a regular basis. So having someone like that we can get questions throughout the year. If we have any questions, I think that's would just be a step in the right direction. So I thank you for coming, taking the time to talk to us. I know obviously you guys are really customer centric, so thank you for that. And just we look forward to developing this partnership further. Thank you.
Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Wesley, I'd like to thank you and also your associate that came to the meeting today. It shows the cooperation from Cox, not only from this standpoint, but going further. Obviously, we're going to have a season next year and the years after. It's great to be able to establish a relationship, because that is the biggest thing, to be able to pick up the phone, to speak with someone, not for a first time, to be able to know that you can talk to someone directly. I'd like to thank Ms. Lawyer Michelle and the mayor's office for being able to give me, because I did not have a contact information, but she was able to provide, as you said, to one of the locals, and she was very helpful. From that point forward, everything started to go. And as you say, Cox, everyone follows the power. So you guys plans, improvements to be able to instill a map, to be able to coordinate more with Entergy is going to help tremendously. So we look forward to all of the upgrades, all of the improvements that Cox and all of our utilities are able to provide. We thank you guys. We're glad everyone was safe, and we look forward to not seeing you. I hate that sounds terrible, but obviously
with that.
when we don't see you is great. So I also would like, if you can pass your contact information on to the mayor's office, Ms. Fauché, and I like to get that just to have.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll also share our point of contact moving forward, but I'll give you my information along with our point of contact.
Thank you very much, and have a thankful Thanksgiving, and be safe, man.
Same to you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Well, thank you all for being here today, and Councilman Segura, thank you for making it happen.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, and in closing, then I certainly want to thank Energy, Mr. Hamby, and Cox, Ms. Wesley, and Mr. Pope for giving us the courtesy of taking your time out and come and speak with us to answer questions that we get from our constituents and need to respond. And it's better to hear it directly from y'all than from third party through us. So it certainly is refreshing that y'all were willing to come and spend this time. As everyone has reported, we know y'all all worked hard to get the restoration. So again, we're very thankful. And in closing, Mr. Skrmetta, again, I want to thank you, because I know as the Public Service Commissioner, you have a lot of day-to-day interaction with these utilities, and it's your guidance that helps keep them on a right path to get our services back up as quick as possible. So again, thank you for everything you do at your level.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Councilman.
Sure. And Councilman Hayes, that's it. And like I said, unfortunately, since AT&T chose not to attend, we'll have to try to get some answers from them at a different prospect.
Councilman Segura, in the meantime, while you were making comment, I've made contact with AT&T and admonished them on not attending, and they said they will be getting in touch to find out what the problem is and make arrangements to do so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we go any further, Madam Clerk, I think you tell me that we have something on the public gatherings that we need to do.
Yes, sir. If I could please read item 3A into the record before we vote on the consent agenda. Under item 3, approval of bingo and public gathering applications, we have item 3A, application number 2221-20, the City of Kenner to hold a public gathering on November 29th, 2020 and December 13th, 2020 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for the purpose of an arts market in Rivertown. Mr. Chairman, that will conclude our consent agenda.
All right. Do we have a motion by Council Member McKinney, seconded by Council Member Segura to approve the consent agenda. Council people, let's vote. Joe, I'm sorry, Councilman Brannigan.
No, you said the vote. Are we voting by roll call?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 for the consent agenda. Under the public appearance agenda, we have item 9, public hearings and final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,762, an ordinance authorizing a public hearing and approving amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2020 annual action plan for the proposed community development block grant in the amount of $434,252 for the Community Development Department.
We have a motion by Council Member Carroll, seconded by Council Member Wilmot to open the public hearing. Council members, let's vote.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to open your hearing.
Do we have anybody wishing to address the council? I'm sorry, Councilman Carroll, you got your hand up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to say this before, if there are any more comments as it relates to the community development, particularly relating to the Council of Aging. As we all know, the COVID-19 has affected the whole world, but particularly our seniors in the city of Kenner and throughout the state have been affected tremendously, not only from a health standpoint, but from the standpoint of being able to gather at our Council of Aging building, to be able to socialize with their friends and family. They have to deal with some of the younger population who are not as astute on being safe, their loved ones that come and see them. So they have been affected tremendously in every aspect of it. So our ability to be able to ensure that we're going to have an upgrade for them as soon as we get past all of this is tremendous. I'd like to thank the administration and Attorney Shaw support on this. And if she's here and available, I'd like for her to give some comments on where we started and where we are right now with the building at the Council of Aging. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm here because of the action plan. Every year, the City of Kenner receives an amount from HUD to make improvements to the city for those low to moderate individuals and areas. One of the things we did do in previous funds is make accommodations to accessibility accommodations to our Council on Aging building. They are finished, substantially completed the building, so we should be having something in the near future for substantial completion to come before the council. So we're excited that we'll be able to finish that building. And when we are able to safely reopen for our seniors to be coming back into the building. In regards to the legislation that we have today, because of the coronavirus pandemic throughout the nation, HUD received over $5 billion for help in activities to ease the effects of coronavirus. And the city of Kenner received an allocation of $287,000 that was voted on by the council June 4th of 2020. With that allocation, we focus mainly on rental assistance. With that funding, as of today, we spent of the $150,000, $124,000. We assisted households in districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because like I said, HUD money can be spent either in low to moderate income areas or on low to moderate income persons. Back in 2010, when the census was done, City of Kenner had 66,740 persons. 17.1% of those people were in poverty. That's about 11,000 people. Well, because of the coronavirus, that has greatly increased that number. So we're working to help those people who were formerly working and lost their jobs. A lot of people have used their savings to pay their household expenses, and they've just run out of funding. So our program is in as a gap measure to help them to get back on their feet. Since that time, June 4th, when you adopted the last plan, we also adopted our regular allocation. At that time, we did not know we would be getting a third allocation from HUD. This legislation represents that third allocation of funding. And once again, we are focusing on rental assistance. We opened up that program October 3rd, and we've gotten over 72 applications for service. And they represent, again, throughout the city, people who, like I said, who were working. These are not people who are malingers. These are people who were working, paying taxes in the city, but just lost their jobs as a result. Because to qualify for the program, you have to show how you were impacted by the coronavirus. That's one of the requirements for eligibility. With both programs, just through the applications that we're trying to go through for eligibility, as well as the ones we've already serviced, we service and have 39 applications in District 1, and service them already, 15 District 2, 28 District 3, 15 in District 4, and 3 in District 5. We continue to get applications every day. We have been encouraged to say that more money may be coming in the form of stimulus to HUD. So that means that we possibly can get more money, because like I said, we're getting applications every day to help people who are getting evicted, and we're trying to stop that process with homeless prevention funds that we receive from HUD. So this is the legislation that's in front of you today. Are there any questions?
You know, Attorney Shaw, I'd just like to say that I may have slighted and not mentioned the other work that the community development does. I did not mean to do that purposely. I obviously have a soft side for the seniors in our community, but all of the people in the city that are being affected by this virus, you know, the community development is most times the starting point. And to be able to have funding that's out of our control. We never know what those fundings are going to be. So it is our ability to be able to adjust accordingly to be able to do that. But more importantly is to be able to have the administration, the city, the council, to be able to understand that, to be prepared to do this. And I think all of the things we've done, not only the food bank, the food drives and everything to assist the people of Kenner, and sometimes outside of the city of Kenner is a plus. And it goes to show that the empathy, the compassion that we have, and people realize that. I mean, people are going through some things, but they know if you are a citizen of Kenner, that we are going to do our best to support, and all of our providers that support what we do, I'd like to thank them also. So we look forward to your staff, community development, the workers that support the staff for different events for the future, and hopefully with everybody cooperation, the council, the mayor, the administration, that we will be able to relieve some of the challenges that we are going through now. and look forward to a more prosperous and better 2021. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you with your staff. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Campo, we jumped ahead. Do we have anybody who wants to address us on this matter?
I don't see any hands raised from the public.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we have a motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Council Member Wilmot to close the public hearing. Let's vote.
Councilmember Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to close your hearing.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot to approve. Now, before we go ahead, I think we have, Madam Clerk, a motion by Councilman Carroll, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot to amend. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, you are correct.
Would you read the amendment?
Yes, I would be glad to. If we're going to insert a whereas, a fourth whereas to read, whereas since issuing the original allocation announcement letters, HUD has discovered an error in the formula calculation for two CPD formula programs, the Community Development Block Grant and the Home Investment Partnerships Home Programs. We will also insert a whereas 5 to read, whereas the correction to the formula has resulted in a decrease in the allocation for the City of Kenner from $488,201 to the new fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant allocation of $488,126. We will change the amounts under the 2020 proposed amended annual action plan. For 2020 Community Development Block Grant, the amount will be $488,126, with the total now changing to $922,378. Under the general administration, the amount will change to $184,475, with the total administration cost at $184,475. Under the Youth Child Care Assistance Program, the amount will change to $35,000. Under Life Skills, we will add a line that reads Life Skills Assistance Program, a program administered by the city and/or a sub-recipient to provide life skills and financial literacy assistance to eligible low to moderate income households. Approximately 20 individuals may be served. That amount will be $10,000. The amount for rental and utility energy assistance will now be $116,448. That will conclude the amendment. This amendment was sent out to the entire council. I believe everyone has received a copy of this amendment.
All right, council members, let's vote on the ordinance as amended, please.
You're voting actually on your amendment, sir. Councilmember Carroll,
Yay.
Councilmember Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 for your amendment. Now, council members, if you could please vote on the ordinance as amended. Is there any discussion?
Christie?
Yes, I just have a question for Director Shaw, for Ms. Shaw. Thank you for all the work that you do, to help the community and help people in need, especially during during the pandemic. But I just wanted to ask, what is the best way for someone who needs rental assistance to get in contact? Is there an email address or something on the website that they can, if someone calls my office, I've gotten those calls before. What is the best way for us to get in contact?
They can call, we're in the office, it's 468-7588. And they need to pick up an application.
Okay.
They can pick up an application at the Clerk of Court, Building A, because that building has the restrictions where they have to go in and get scanned. They wouldn't be able to get scanned in my building, Councilwoman McKinney. So they can go there and pick up the application and drop off all of the documents. The clerk of court has been wonderful in facilitating that process. So that's how we get the applications every day and start processing them for eligibility.
Okay, and what's the number again? 468?
468-7588.
7588. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Back to the motion on the ordinance as amended. Motion by Carroll, seconded by Wilmot. Councilmember Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 12,766. An ordinance amending Chapter 15, Traffic and Motor Vehicles, Article 2, Section 15-21 of the Kenner Code of Ordinances to add a stop sign on Champs-Elysees at the intersection of Rue St. Peter. Mr. Chairman, we've received a request for a one meeting deferral.
All right.
I have a motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney for a one meeting deferral. Council members, please vote on the deferral. Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0 for one meeting deferral. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the multi-jurisdictional program for public information plan prepared by members of the Community Rating System User Group Jefferson United Mitigation Professionals.
We have a motion by Councilmember Segura, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to approve. Let's vote.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 13B is a resolution authorizing the placement for temporary signs on public property for Dawn Buster's Kiwanis Club.
Motion by Councilman Hayes, seconded by McKinney to approve. Let's vote.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve item 13B. Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,700. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Christmas Village LLC to supply Christmas lighting as needed in accordance with letter bid number 20-1965 and an amount not to exceed $25,000 for the Department of General Services.
Motion by Councilmember Brennan, seconded by Councilmember McKinney to approve. Let's vote.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve item 15A. Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,764. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Notico Industries to purchase materials to repair office trailer in accordance with bid number T20-2776 and an amount not to exceed $6,983.95.
Motion by Councilmember Brannigan, seconded by Councilmember Segura to approve. Let's vote.
Councilman Wilmot,
Yay.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 15C is summary ordinance number 12,765. An ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Crow and Associates doing business as Crow Slit Turf Services to provide ditch spraying in accordance with bid number 20-1961 and an amount not to exceed $15,000.
Motion by Councilmember McKinney, seconded by Councilmember Carroll to approve. Let's vote.
Councilman Carroll,
Yay.
Councilman Segura,
Yay.
Councilman Hayes,
Yay.
Councilman Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilman Brennan,
Yes.
Councilman McKinney,
Yay.
Councilman Wilmot.
Yay.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is an ordinance approving the assignment of the lease agreement by East Jefferson General Hospital to LCMC Health Holdings Incorporated of the leased property located at 18th Street and Minor Street, and approving the amendment of the lease agreement by the City of Kenner and LCMC Health Holdings Incorporated. Item 16B is an ordinance approving the sale of a 30,000 square foot unimproved portion of the Georgia Avenue right-of-way between squares 56 and 57, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Louisiana, which said property is owned by the City of Kenner. Item 16C is an ordinance amending ordinance number 11,062, adopted by the City of Kenner, Louisiana on March 17, 2016, entitled Unified Development Code of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, more particularly amending and rezoning Lot 23-A, Square 508, Highway Park Subdivision, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, from RR1, Single Family Residential to SI, Special Industrial, and directing, authorizing, and empowering the planning director for the City of Kenner to alter and amend the official zoning map of the City of Kenner, Louisiana. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the permanent donation of 5 works of art currently on loan from Henry and Pat Shane. Item 16E is an ordinance approving an attorney retainer agreement with Bruno & Bruno, LLC, Malvern C. Burnett, APLC, Joshua Joseph Law Firm, LLC, and Bick and Kistner, PC, regarding disputes concerning video service provider fees. Item 16F is an ordinance to establish the standards for temporary small wireless facilities to be placed in city right-of-ways in the City of Kenner, Louisiana, and to provide for related matters. Item 16G is an ordinance to establish the standards for small wireless facilities to be placed in city right-of-ways in the City of Kenner, Louisiana, and to provide for related matters. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees.
Councilman Segura.
Thank you, Council President. Just want to give everybody hope they have a happy Thanksgiving coming into next week's holiday. But let's bear in mind, what's going on with the COVID virus. And as we want to gather with our families and friends, keep this in mind to be safe. And let's not try to do anything that will continue to spread the virus at a faster rate so that we can keep our city moving forward. So enjoy your Thanksgiving, but let's do it safely. Thank you.
Councilman Brannigan.
I just want to let the people that live in North Kenner, especially Chateau Lakefront, know that construction started on the Cabernet and Joe Yenny project that is pushing the street, putting a little swerve in the street to help people see east and west when they're leaving the subdivision. And it does affect all people that take Joe Yenny from Woodlake, Seton Park Chateau Lakefront. Yeah, it's down to 1 lane from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you. Councilman Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to give a special thanks and support to the Jefferson Parish Register of Voters. As everyone knows, we had early voting, and actually early voting starts again today. But the support that I was able to identify at the Kenner location on Minor Street, but also being able to see the numbers from the West Bank and the Uni building, they did a fantastic job. Also would like to thank the police department from being able to facilitate that. There weren't any disturbances in the line. And last but not least, the citizens of Jefferson Parish, because this was an opportunity for people from all over the parish to stand next to one another, to have a conversation, and it went well. I mean, the guys in the registration department did a fantastic job with the egress and the ingress of it. The police department really didn't have any issues with it other than their presence and to be able to help, because there are some long lines from the office all the way to Williams Boulevard, down going back towards the river. They did a fantastic job. People like to comment or joke about Louisiana, the way we vote, but speaking to some of the representatives from the Register of Voters, over the last year, the state of Louisiana was ranked in the top 3 on how we conduct our voting, the machines that we use, and the overall process. So the people have a lot to do with that, and the people that administer that. So I like to thank them for that. Also, I like to thank Ms. Fauché, the Attorney Rafier, and Public Works Director Snyder for their support on one of the issues that we had in District 1, that we were able to all come together and to be able to help with not only the constituents, a couple of constituents, but to be able to offer for me to learn different things, for everyone to get a feel for what's going on. And last, I'd like to comment on the mayor made a comment about the code department doing a sweep on Fillmore Street. I'd like to thank the code department director, Muhammad and Good Golly about that. Great job. You know, the reality is most of the people who should get the compliments beside the code department are the individuals that live on their street. They have taken it upon themselves to adhere to the codes, to their neighbors, to the things that are required to make it a better community. And while you will always have some naysayers about how things are, how things look, we have to ignore that and do what's best for the community. I'd like to also thank Mr. Pitfield. He and I have been communicating, as he spoke about before, and I think the mayor said something too about the overall process of this, of picking up the trash. The number one thing is, from my perspective, is to be able to have a plan. You have to have a plan and assessment. My communications with Mr. Pitfield is there is a plan. To expedite that will never satisfy everyone. But at the end of the day, everyone can always say that the grass will be picked up, the twigs will be picked up, everything will happen. Will it happen at your speed? Well, that's up to you. But most of the people recognize that, at least 70% of the people. Some people you'll never satisfy. I think as long as the employees and everybody involved establish a plan, we live with the plan and be able to address that when we have to, that's all we can ask for. So I'd like to thank everyone involved with that. And we look forward to cleaning up the city, because it's to all of our advantage to do that. This isn't something that we're not going to do or don't want to do. We all have something in this. So thanks again for everybody's support, and we look forward to going forward. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item 18 is new business. We have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. We have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Campo, do we have anybody?
Mr. Al Morello is up first.
Morello, 4260 East Loyola Drive, 5th District, 48 years. I want to get the numbers on the China virus as of today. Total number of tests, 3,286,993. 286,083. Positive cases, 202,743. Negative cases, which no one ever wants to talk about, 3,083,340. Total recovered, 185,960. Let me remind everybody, these tests and these negative cases is now 3/4 of the total population of this state, which is population is 4.5 million people. So I just want to reiterate that. I will be giving these numbers until this thing is passed. Now, next item, I want to direct this to Councilman Brannigan. Yes, we know about the construction down there, and we appreciate trying to improve the situation in Chateau Lakefront by Joe Yenny. Barrier Construction is the primary contractor. Kelly Industries is a subcontractor. Yesterday evening at 3:45, you stated, Councilman Brannigan, that at 3 o'clock, that's when they quit. 3:45, the barricades were still up all along Chateau Boulevard, all the way down here by me to the bridge. Road closed. There was a massive traffic jam on Joe Yenny. I took it upon myself to go out there and direct the traffic, and then a Kenner policeman arrived on the scene, and I worked with the Kenner policeman to break up this mess. They had a tractor trailer, a big rig from Walmart that was down in the water. He was fixing to come across the bridge. Told him this is no truck route, this is a residential neighborhood. We rerouted him. We got him turned around, and he went back to 117 westbound. I went out this morning, and I saw a worker from Kelly Industries and told him about it. The signs were taken down after we relieved this massive traffic jam. And I said, let me tell you something, man. You make sure when y'all leave, you take these road closed barricades down. You cannot keep this eastbound lane closed on Joe Yenny after hours. So he told me they would, and they were taken down shortly after me and the Kenner policeman coordinated the traffic flow and broke up this mess. Now, last item in closing, I want to wish the people of Kenner, all our employees, including the administration and the city council, a very blessed and happy Thanksgiving. And everybody stay safe, but enjoy your day and entertain your family. Anybody got any comments, any questions?
I have one, Mr. Morella.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Council Chair. I know sometimes you walk on Joe Yenny and you don't have a shirt on. I'm hoping when you were directing traffic, you had a shirt on.
I do that all the time, man, whenever I see a potential problem on Joe Yenny Boulevard. And I don't see anybody, yes, I'm going to try to save a life when I can, and I'm going to try to do something about that traffic jam. And I'm telling you, Councilman Brannon, yesterday it was very bad.
Hopefully it's only supposed to be a short-term project, so it's all good. George is doing a good job with that. Happy Thanksgiving.
Make sure that those barricades are down after 3 o'clock and that eastbound lane is open.
Councilman Brannigan, you can't top that question.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'll make sure that the barricades are down. And I want to thank Al for going out there and taking care of that, but we'll make sure that they're not keeping the lane closed, because that's a bad situation. But the cost of progress is inconvenient sometimes. And basically, we're going to be inconvenienced for about a week as long as the weather gets done. And then the safety issue will take place at Cabernet and Joe Yenny.
Mayor, do you want to say something about having the shirt on?
No, I guess the chief's badge when he deputized Mr. Morella, is hard to keep it without a shirt on. So hopefully he didn't have a shirt on. That's something for the police chief to obviously address with Mr. Morella, a citizen directing traffic. We appreciate your civic involvement, but I think that's more of a police department issue. On my end, we're going to make sure with Councilman Brannigan, Tom Schreiner, and Kenny Melvin will make sure that they speak with the contractor and have those things removed. Like you said, Councilman Brannigan, with good weather, let's make sure that it's only a week. It could be a little bit longer, so let's not tie ourselves to a time limit. But absolutely, progress is inconvenient, and there may have been something that delayed them a little bit yesterday. We'll find out what that was. But look, you put a time frame out there. I know Councilman Brannigan did on the hours of work. We can't guarantee that. That's not a way of guaranteeing. Anything could happen in those times. We'll find out what happened on that issue, but I'm not saying it won't happen again. And Councilman Brannigan, you realize that, and there's not much we can do about it.
Councilman Brannigan.
Yeah, and the bottom line is when they work in the eastbound lane has to be closed because they tearing the curb up. But last night when I went home, all of the barricades were along the curb so that people didn't run off the road into the hole that was dug. So right. I'll go out there today and have a little chit chat with the contractors.
All right, thank you.
And I think Mr. Schreiner will be out there this afternoon with Brian Brennan on another issue in District 5. So Mr. Schreiner, if you could coordinate with Councilman Brannigan so that we make sure that that contractor is doing what they need to do. Thank you. Thank you, George.
Mr. Campo, anybody else?
Daniel Hayes is up next. You can unmute yourself, Mr. Hayes.
Hi, I'm Daniel Hayes. My Kenner property is 215 St. Tanny Road. Can you guys hear me? Did I get myself unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so my German Shepherd puppy and I were out at the Kenner Dog Park today, and I'd like to say I think the park's got a lot of potential, but I'd like to see maybe a little better maintenance of the park going on. I think they have a high jump that is currently broken. There's a little plastic fitting that goes on a metal pipe in the ground that's missing, so that the pole on one side can't go in there, so that the bar can go across. And also, one of the other attendees at the park today mentioned that the grass is not being trimmed like the contract says it's supposed to be around all of the various fixtures and whatever inside the park. So I don't know if that's the case. But also, I'm just curious, what can be done to get more trees lining? There's nothing on the I guess it would be the east side of the park, and then probably they could use some more trees on the south side, because my dog is all black, and it's very uncomfortable for him to not have any shade and stuff like that. This time of the year it gets a little easier, but he's less likely to play. And I was talking to some of the other people at the park, and that's also a concern of theirs as well, that the park could definitely use some more trees.
Mr. Hayes, is Council Chair, if I may, please. Mr. Hayes, thank you for your comments. I'll speak with Mark Glorioso and Chad Pitfield about the maintenance. And I know that some of that equipment that is out there, people were getting on it when it was intended for animal use. And they did put up some signs, but that still may be occurring as far as the persons getting on it and maybe weighing too much. We can also look into some additional trees and things like that, and of course the maintenance. And if you'd like to talk about it any further, you're certainly welcome to call me. My cell number, if you have a pen, is 559-3360. And feel free to call me and we can discuss it further. And I'll speak with Mark and Chad and get an update and be happy to provide that to you.
Sure, absolutely. I definitely would love to give you some suggestions of, where I think tree placement will be good and what can be done to make the park better. And I appreciate your attention.
Thank you. And if you didn't catch the number, you can call my office at City Hall and and or email me at District 5 and I'll get it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Anybody else, Mr. Campo?
Mr. Greg Teft is up next.
Greg Teft, I'm on West Viola Drive Center. I just want to say that, to remind everyone that the pandemic is still here, not going away, to please be smart, follow the CDC guidelines, and have respect for others when you're all out, especially on Thanksgiving when you're meeting with family. It's more important that we all be safe and do the right things. And I also want to wish all citizens of Kenner, the administration, the employees of Kenner, a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teff. Mr. Campo?
Up next is Mr. Richard Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Adam. Wanted to, excuse me one second. I need to stop that phone from ringing. Wanted to make a couple of comments about the dog park as well. And I know the city has had a problem with children playing on that agility equipment that's for the dogs. And my dogs, well, it's too far advanced for my dogs, but I'm glad to have it there. And we're still trying to get my dogs to learn to use it. But I was at the dog park last Saturday, late in the evening, right at dusk. And right at dusk, just as the sun started to go down, the mosquitoes got to be terrible. I think I got something like 50 mosquito bites before I could even get back to my car. There may not be anything the city can do about that, but I just wanted to point it out. And the other one or two people there were complaining too. In fact, we just about had to run to our cars to try to get away from the mosquitoes. And on a different note, I'm glad you did this meeting by Zoom. I've got to say the meetings at the Pontchartrain Center are not working out. The acoustics in that building are horrible. I don't know if you plan to go back to the Pontchartrain Center. I would personally much rather see you keep doing the Zoom meetings than to go back to the Pontchartrain Center. I'm naturally anxious for us to get back into City Hall. I hope we can do that right away. But until then, I would rather see you keep using Zoom than to have to go back to the Pontchartrain Center. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anybody else, Adam?
I see no other hands raised.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Councilman Carroll, seconded by Brannigan. Thank y'all. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.